Discussing on our 2002 Volkswagen Beetle 2.0. This is a Mexican model, by the way. I don't get it. Volkswagen, German, but made in Mexico. It's what we make for products today. But anyway, I went down to the auto parts store, and they didn't have the alternator in stock, so they're ordering it for me. So I'll either get it today by 4, or I'll get it tomorrow. Not really a bad deal. Pretty good for deliveries. I'm just going to go over the car again, just to recap what I did, because I found that using the YouTube is very helpful, so I figured I might as well chip in and show my experiences too. You know, the good and the bad as far as what I do right and what I've done wrong. And again, recapping, this is your plate, if you want to call it a plate. Most mechanics will know the actual correct terminology for it, but it's your plate, it's your cap, it's your cover, whatever. That is simply held on by a 13mm bolt, and you have these two suction areas that hold it on, and you literally, if you can see that, it just pops right out, because these two suction areas just pop right out, and it just protects the top of your engine there. Looking at my serpentine belt, I think it's alright, but there's a part of me that says I want to give her a new one because there was a little bit of crack in there, and I'm not really comfortable with that. So unfortunately, I looked at it after I came back from the auto parts store, so looks like I'm going to make another trip, because what the heck, you have it off. What you don't want her to do is go down the street and all of a sudden the serpentine belt comes off. Then you got to replace that. So, well, it's off. Go get a new one. Looking at our belt tensioner. Kind of self-explanatory. I've already showed how to take it off and how that works with connecting your two knobs together. You can see what I'm talking about, the knobs right here. I'm just doing this by myself, so it's kind of hard to show you. But if you see, your belt tensioner fits on like this. Think of it's on the car. Of course, it's down in the engine and it fits on like this. I've already shown how it fits on and how we've taken it off. I'm just recapping. Okay, and it screws on with these bolts. Now, right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm going to put anti-seize lubricant on the bolts so I can, in the future, take them off easily. Some mechanics may disagree with that, and you know what? If they say differently, listen to them. They obviously know more than me. I'm a novice mechanic, what you may call a YouTube mechanic. Okay, but nonetheless, that's what I'm going to do. It just makes it come off easier. These bolts, for your references, are 13mm bolts. The bolt for your alternator is held on by 2 bolts, and they're pretty long bolts. I don't have the alternator with me, of course, because there's a cord charge, so they have it, but these bolts are the 2 bolts, and they are also 13mm bolts. So remember, rule of thumb, make the 13mm socket your friend when you take off your alternator. Okay? Your alternator will have 3 connections, and to tell you the truth, I don't know what these connections are, so I'm not even going to pretend I do, because I don't. This is your first connector, and this is your second connector. And, if you want me to guess, it may be your ground, I'm not sure. And then this is your, I would say, your bracket, which holds it in there, which prevents it from coming out. That would be another guess. But you have 3 brackets. 3 connections. This connection, that connection, and that connection. When you take off your top bracket, remember to take off your dipstick. I think I've showed you that at the beginning of the film. And before you start anything, disconnect your battery. Okay? It's a fairly new battery, unfortunately, with the alternator going dead. And let me tell you something. I hope it is the alternator, because as I was told, a friend of mine who is a mechanic said, look, you want to test out see if your alternator is bad. What you want to do is turn your engine on. Alright, because I told him I had to jump start my car and it would run, then it would die. He says, well, what you want to do is jump start your car. As your car is running, disconnect your battery. If your engine stops, it's most likely your alternator. So that's what we're changing now. If it's not the alternator, well, guess what? I'm getting a new one anyway. So stay tuned till we get a new alternator, and then I'll show how the novice mechanic tries to install it. It ain't over till it's over.